What's up, my friends? Today is going to be a very special little video here. So I'm joined by Isabelle Wellman, who is the founder of the Conscious Alignment Method. She is a personal trainer and astrologer, and I'm going to be having my first time astrology reading with Isabelle. So this is something, just to give a little background, I know virtually nothing about astrology. So for all of you watching, this is going to be my first real deep dive into astrology. I'm going to learn something about myself. I know that for damn sure. And Isabelle has been a great light that I've connected with recently. And she's here to spread some good knowledge. And so for everyone watching, if you're interested in getting your own astrology reading, I'm going to put some of the links here in the description. And she will share that at the end, how to do that. So Isabelle, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting. I've never been this is my first big astrology invite. So I'm very excited and especially hyped for today. So thank you so much for just connecting with me in general, because it's been such a blast.
Absolutely. Well, you're on a center stage of the stadium here, so you're the star of the show. So take it away.
You're the star of the show. This is about you, not me. All right. So we've already cleared the air of you've never had an astrology reading. So that's really fun. And the best piece of advice that I can give to anyone diving into their astrology reading at first is being completely open and as honest as you can. Of course, keep your safety. If anything you don't want to share, you want to keep it safe, keep it at home, but try to describe the feelings or the situation as best as you can while staying in your comfort zone. Because this is meant to be fun and it's meant to be motivating and exciting, but it can get the heartstrings going a little bit. So it's really good to just prep everyone hey, this is going to be about you, to really look at yourself. It's that mirror reflection. So to get started, I'm going to do this little doctor checkup, and we are going to go over a few dates. This is going to help me determine where the energy has been activated. And then we'll talk about your character for about 10 minutes or so. And then we'll be able to dive into the now and really make this practical and send you home with some homework so that you can get going to apply this to your life. Because what would be the point of knowing this information if we did not know how to put it to work? So the first little deal I'm going to start asking you about is your Saturn. So I did my schooling with Deborah Silverman Astrology. Her schooling just closed for their first open of the year, but I 1000% recommend it. Even on her Instagram, just Deborah Silverman Astrology. She's hilarious. She's funny. If you have mommy issues and you need a mom, she is your woman. She has given me so much love. So her biggest tactic is Saturn. And so when we look at Saturn, we're looking at the life purpose here. And what I'm seeing in your chart specifically is your Saturn being in Aquarius. So this is very exciting. If anyone is unaware, on December 21st of last year, we stepped into the age of Aquarius. So what is that meaning? That just means that we shifted Saturn and Jupiter, which is the planet of karma and the planet of expansion and growth, and Santa Claus. It brings you all the joy, or it can bring you all the things you don't necessarily want if you're not doing your homework. So when this big shift happens, it only happens once every 2.5 years. So we've now come into this stage, but an overall progress of that is every 30 years. So that's why it was so dramatic. And having your Saturn in Aquarius in this time is a really big indicator that you're here to make a difference. And so I'm going to start just by asking you some questions and see how exactly this works in your life. So let me ask you, what is your experience with traveling? Do you like to travel?
100%. Yes, I've had a lot of experience traveling.
And I guess where would be the perfect place for you to go?
So Sri Lanka, I think, was the place that I felt the most connected to when I did my Asia travel. Sri Lanka and Thailand, I think of all the countries I've traveled to, those definitely drew me in the most.
Okay. And what exactly drew you into that?
I think it was the presence that the people there live with, the fact that a lot of them didn't have technology. They're very just tuned into the earth and working with the land and working with mindfulness and just the intentional living that they live with in the present moment.
I love that. Man, I need to get over there. I'd love to visit there. That had to be beautiful.
Amazing, life-changing.
What did you do when you, like, how did you stay there? Did you stay with a family or anything?
So in Sri Lanka, one of my good friends from college was Sri Lankan, so he was born and raised there, and his family still lived over there. So I
Mhm.
lived with him on his farm for 2 months in the middle of nowhere, Sri Lanka. There was no other Americans. A lot of them had never actually seen a white person before, and
Wow.
me being 6'1", blue eyes, blonde hair, white, stood out like a sore thumb. So that was a very humbling experience, and the people there were just so loving and so welcoming, and so I had a really unique experience that a lot of foreigners don't have the privilege of experiencing. So that was just phenomenal to be just so immersed into their true lifestyle without the tourism attached to it.
That sounds heavenly. I'm so happy you got to experience that. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And so another question I want to ask is, where do you like how have you felt in this past year? Like, where have you grown the most?
Hmm. Say overall, the past year, I think for a lot of people has been a roller coaster. Overall, definitely trending in the right direction, and very happy with the direction things are going. But there definitely have been some tough moments as well. So I think that the area I've grown the most is harnessing my energy. I have shiny object syndrome at times, that I like to try to do 10 different things at once. So really kind of cutting out the things that are less important to me and being more intentional with my work. And I think also not shaming myself for not working, because I tend to be a goer and never stop until my body forces me to stop. So I'm getting better at recognizing that doing nothing isn't being lazy. It's just it's being a human being, not a human doing.
Being a human being, not a human doing. That's so clever. That's so sweet. All right, and then my last question before we dive into some dates would be like, do you feel like you have a pretty good handle on like technology and how you use it to move you forward in business or in love or in career, whatever that is?
Overall, yes. Definitely something that I was actually talking with someone yesterday about, is that I read this whole Instagram book in 2019, and that's when my Instagram really started to grow. And then things changed so quickly in technology that I remember I spent so much time learning, studying that book, and it worked. It definitely helped my Instagram grow. But then all the algorithms changed, so many things changed. I was like, oh man, I don't really want to spend my whole life learning these things. So I'd say overall, yes, I do use it very well, but there are times that it is frustrating, that it seems like things are, it's a full-time job almost just to learn social media and learn technology. So I think I have better grip than the average person, but there's always room for growth.
All right, I love that. Yeah, and the growth of technology is insane, and it's only going to keep
Right.
changing.
Right.
So, and when you are approached with change, how do you handle change? Like, what do you do to handle it?
That's a great question. It's funny that my first thought that popped in my mind is if it's by my choice, I open it with open arms, but if it's not by my choice, I meet it with resistance. And that's something that I'm definitely aware of as of the past year or two, is my resistance to not being in control of the change. So overall, I think I handle change pretty well, but definitely there's some resistance when it's not my choice.
Mm-hmm. And when you feel that resistance, do you feel like communicating, like, do you have a good grasp on communicating that with other people or with yourself, or have gotten better at that?
Definitely have gotten better at that. I'm a naturally an introvert at heart. So
Mhm.
for me, I really need that time to step back and analyze and really feel into all that. Whereas sometimes I can, again, get into my old habits of just resisting and saying, oh, no, that's not good, not right, not whatever, until I have the opportunity to sit back. So, yeah, just getting more mindful of my reaction to other people's changes.
All right. Well, now that we have that done, I'm going to click over to my other screen. What can you recall from July 2007 to August 2007? You were 13 years old. What comes up for you? And this can look like anything, like a divorce, a first love, you broke a bone, you had like a new sibling came into life, like something really extravagant in a positive or a negative way, whatever that may have been.
July 2007.
So yeah, 13, middle school.
Nothing significant, but the first thing that did pop up to me was we used to go to Algonquin, Maine with my mother's side, grandparents, aunt and uncle, and that was always around 4th of July. So that's kind of what popped in my head is that, but can't think of anything gigantic. But again, that seems like a long time ago, so maybe it has passed in my memory.
Yeah. What did you guys do when you would go travel then?
So we'd stay there for usually a couple nights, and there's like this big lawn. Sometimes we play, catch on there. Then we go to the beach, hang out, go out to eat. We always go to the same restaurant, and the adults would get their seafood, and us kids weren't so into the seafood. Then we usually go to a little walking place, and there would be this little candy shop back, before I knew better that I was just eating straight sugar and rotting my teeth and eating color additives and all that. But yeah, that's kind of the memories that jog from that.
Oh, that's so much fun. And that was typically like a very good experience, a highlight of the year, so to say.
I'd say it was a good experience. There's definitely sometimes resistance that, my family, we would like to do more, and they would sometimes just want to sit on the beach for the entire day or sit on the lawn for the entire day. And we want to be doing a little bit more. So I think there definitely was some resistance with that at times, but overall, a positive experience.
Okay. Love that. And now I'm going to jog your memory again a little bit sooner. What may have happened November 2014 when you were 21 years old? And I mean, exactly what you just gave me was perfect.
November 2014. So that was, I had just transferred to UMass Amherst. So that was my first semester in my new school. I think the Patriots won the Super Bowl that year, if I remember correctly. So I kind of remember Super Bowl party. That wasn't November though; that would have been February. But yeah, I think that was a challenge of trying to find, where I fit in a new environment, kind of coming in not really knowing anybody. And I remember there was a group of people I hung out with that were very kind and open to receiving my energy. But they were definitely a bit on the alcoholic side for, I like to party, but this was like an everyday, all day type of thing. So I was kind of like, I had to, find my distance with that. So, yeah, definitely a lot of change was happening that year. And that was also, I was really diving into the holistic lifestyle as a more deeper purpose.
Wow. And that's amazing. When you were like finding your way, like how big of a move was that? I'm not really sure of that distance. So like how far away did you have to transfer?
So I went to University of New Hampshire, which I did not really vibe with that energy there my first 2 years. And so that was my junior year. I transferred to UMass. So that's about 2.5 hours from my hometown. So not too far, but yeah, I live south of Boston. This was way Western Mass.
Mm-hmm. And just a huge change in scene and people and all that
Right.
jazz. But overall, was it like a fun experience? Did you enjoy it? Did you feel like you like found your vibe?
Yeah, I'd say probably at that point in November, I was finding it, but definitely overall in the 2 years of being there, it was the perfect place for me, and really everything I needed from classes to people to everything.
And for the holistic side of that, how exactly did you start implementing that into your life?
So that's when I first started taking herbalism courses, started taking more mindfulness courses. So I think there's more now where before I was taking more of the science, like the neuroscience, the nutrition, more of the sciencey based things, and these were a little bit more lighter and more applicable. So I feel like there's just a lot of practices I was beginning to implement into my daily lifestyle that, is kind of sometimes the weird hippie dude.
Hey, nothing wrong with being the weird hippie dude.
Not at all.
That's awesome. So I asked all these questions around these dates, and we'll go back to when you were 7. And so when I look at the chart, and I'll just, can I share this? I'm not sure if I can. No. So when I look at this chart, I look at your Saturn and I look at the opposite side because I'm looking at when your opposition was activated, aka when you were 7, Saturn was directly across from where it actually is in your chart. And so this was in Leo in the 3rd house. So Leo is the child. It's all about playing and having fun and being creative and wanting to be entertained. It can be a little ego dramatic. It can really want to find itself, but it can be weary of the external judgments. It can be a little bit cautious when trying to make any big moves just because of who's going to care about this? Am I getting enough attention? Do they like me? And all these questions come. But it was also with maybe how you communicated with your friends and family life. And that's the whole Gemini. That's that air and fire sign together. And so that showed like how your experience around that being more positive than negative, like nothing dramatic or traumatic happened. That shows me that you were in alignment at that time, or like you were in a good place at this moment. And then moving to the second set of questions when you're 21, it's really funny because your Saturn was, this is called a square. So it's 90 degrees away from where your Saturn sits. And it's in Sagittarius. So another fire sign in the 6th house. So the 6th house is the Virgo house, and it's all about holistic wellness. It's all about being analytical and a little bit judgmental and like really wanting to be efficient and diving into like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a little bit too hard on myself, but I'm going to get it done. And it's this very grounded energy, but with the Sagittarius there, it can be very, very bold and very blunt. And maybe you said a couple things that were like, I should have probably waited to say that, but I'll just deal with it. And then you kind of take on those consequences and you learn and you grow. And that's just maybe during a time of your life, you felt very like funny and carefree. And with the whole traveling, I mean, Sagittarius, it's all about traveling and just going places, meeting new people, being that light in the room. Like you walk in and everyone's laughing instantly. And so now as we gauge up towards where your Saturn return will go, Saturn return is basically if the principal came knocking on the classroom door and went, hey, you, Rob, come here. And your initial reaction would be, well, this is bad. Or you're like, I'm getting a trophy today. Heck yeah. Like I'm in the good kids club. And so it can be one or the other, but it's never gentle and it is never gonna be subtle. It's very intense and very like, are you doing your work and are you in your place? And so you are due for your Saturn return when you're 29 in January to February of 2023. So you're going to want to write that down because this is a really big time of your life. And I'm going to give you the exact dates so I can really set you up for success. And so let's see, January, and your Saturn is in the 25th degree, so I can look in my little chart.
And what did you say that date represented? The return of Saturn?
Yeah, so Saturn's return, and this is to like your karmic path. So anything, so far in your chart, because you were answering those questions in more of a positive manner, nothing really crazy in a bad way happened, but you had changes. You went to a new school, you would go on these vacations. Like it very much represents the energy that was in your chart. Now we get to see like, okay, you're on the right track to having a really positive Saturn return, because Saturn return will come at you with death, with rebirth, with like the growth of your career, with like a marriage, the best day ever, the love of your life. Or it can be the opposite. It can be a divorce. It can be when you lost your job. It can be when you lost a friend or anything that no one wants to deal with. And that is basically representing if you are in your lane or not. And so your dates for that, let me get this here, will be January 29th until February 1st. Nope, February 2nd, excuse me, of 2023. And you're going to feel this energy starting 6 months prior. So you're going to start feeling this activation in 2022. So next year. So get ready. Make sure you're doing all of your work. You're keeping it clean. And I'll let you in on how to do that. Because then you're going to feel it for another 6 months afterwards. And with your chart, with it being in Aquarius and we're in this Aquarian age, this is really highlighting that like now is your time to do anything you've ever wanted to do. So as I asked you those questions with like how you communicate, how you feel resistance, your Saturn, it's also it's in alignment with this other planet, Pluto. And Pluto is all about change. So it's funny that you said that if change happens, it can be a little tricky for you to want to accept that if it's not of your own choice. And that has to do with like the Virgo mind, because the Pluto's in the 6th house as well. So the energy of the Virgo being, I want things my way, I want control, I want it to be the most efficient. And with this little red line between your Saturn and your Pluto, it can feel hard to change and it can feel that resistance. So it sounds like you are on the right track by seeing that, observing it and going, okay, that's just my silly mind. I get to accept this change. What can I do to make this feel better? What can I do now to make this easier? So what would be some ways that you implement like an easier solution to change that you can think of?
I think it's letting go of control. That again, I feel very confident in myself and the choices I make, that sometimes I think I'm right all the time, which, a lot of times I am, but a lot of times I'm also not. So it's definitely, like you said, with that Virgo mind definitely resonated. And I think part of it is, not trying to force anything and, just allowing things to come. And personally, I can only control myself. So being very mindful of that, and also just recognizing that when my body or mind is telling me to, take a break, go for a walk, do whatever, just allowing that to, really embodying that as opposed to resisting it and trying to force myself to keep working or doing whatever. And I think also giving other people in my life the opportunity to lead. I feel like I've always been a leader almost by force, due to no one else would be willing to step up to a leadership position. So I felt sometimes, even if I didn't want to, I was forced into leadership, which has definitely been beneficial for the most part. But there's times where it's like, we don't always want to be leading. So I think just allowing myself to release control of everything.
Absolutely. Releasing control of everything. I love that. And as you move forward into this year, I want to just allow you this opportunity to see that with your Saturn in Aquarius, which is the humanitarian, the revolutionary way that we are headed, it's the rebellion. Do you feel like some of the things that you promote are a little out there or quirky or a little different, or maybe you felt a little standoutish from a lot of people?
Probably about 1,000%. It's funny. I have these tarot card decks. One is by Osho, and the one that I picked probably about 4 to 6 weeks ago that really stuck out was the Rebel, and just needing to embody that, because I think that the way I view what's going on in the world right now, quite frankly, I think it's just bullshit how it's being handled and how people are being affected. And I've definitely lost a lot of people by expressing my true, sincere beliefs of that. People telling me I'm being inconsiderate, being a conspiracy theorist, being an asshole, whatever. The list goes on and on. So I think just recognizing that it is okay to think differently, and recognizing that there's, can't please everybody, and that's okay. And that, like I said, I truly believe in what I'm promoting and sharing, and it may just be a matter of time. And I think that's what it comes down to, is just a lot of people aren't ready for what I'm sharing just yet, and that's okay. And it just can't change anyone, and just got to work with the people that are willing to work and willing to listen.
You're on the high road, my friend. That is really awesome to hear. Like, you feel so confident in your stance, because that is what you're being called to do. So you have this fire and air combination with your Saturn. It's in the 9th house, so it's that Sagittarius energy, and it's all about the religion and the philosophies that you believe in. It's that truth, and it's that deeper truth. And with this Aquarius energy, it is rebelling against what other people want to hear. It doesn't matter what they want to hear, it's what they need to hear. And that is 100% what you're doing. Like, you are paving the way. I think the easiest example I have is you reached out to me due to like a mutual friend. I hopped on your live video with CVC, and shout out to that hype man. He's so great. But like that was just instantaneous, and that's synchronicity in its finest. And that's like bulletproof information that what you were following your gut. The intuition can be a little crazy, but the gut, that's what we really want to listen to. It's like the microbiome, you know, all the good health benefits of it. And when we can really tune in, it leads us to exactly what we want. Like, now we're in this astrology reading, we're chatting, we're getting to dive deeper into what your life is about. So know that you are on your path. And the homework that I would love for you to write down is just, can I accept that I am different? And being very clear that it is not your job in this lifetime to ever be the same as someone else. And to, sure, take ideas from other people and to like see what other people are doing, but then make it your own. Put that special sauce twist on it, because that's what's going to make it juicy. And that is what is going to ignite the people. You are meant here to do that. And your permission is to be okay with being strange, goofy, and a little detached from the external world and the social normalities. Like, you have full permission to be your freak flag, like 100% be you. So learning that independence and being okay with that, but also knowing like it's okay to like be shy, ask for the help. It's 100% in your power. How do you feel about all of that?
I feel very much aligned with just about all of that. It definitely feels like it hits home. And yeah, I think a lot of it, sometimes it's easy to get up in my own head and be like, is this right? Am I the one taking crazy pills? Or, so it definitely is reassuring to hear some of these from this perspective. So it's definitely been helpful.
I love that, because now we're going to dive into your sun, your moon, and your rising. So this is all about your character, and I'm going to give you a little relief on your crazy mind, because you're not crazy. It's a beautiful mind. I 100% am with you on the Virgo mindset, because I also have my Mercury, which is the planet of the mind, in Virgo. So for starters, you have your sun in Virgo, you have your moon in Pisces, and you have your rising or your ascendant sign where the sun was on the horizon when you popped out of the womb in Cancer. And with your rising sign, you're at the 0 degree. So what this means is that you might feel energy that's more aligned with Cancer or Gemini. And we can dive into that and how that works. So first and foremost, Virgo, a Virgo sun. So the sun is our life force, right? I think we would all die if we didn't have the sun. We would freeze to death. Plants wouldn't be able to grow. We wouldn't have food. We wouldn't be able to get the nutrients we need in our skin, vitamin D. So it's what gives us life. It's that external force that is really fueling us. And Virgo, it's the analytical person. It's that perfectionist. It is the Olympian that needs to get it done and exactly how they want to get it done. It is order and structure and detail. Would you say that you have a pretty organized life, or do you ever feel cluttered in life?
I'd say it's a little bit of both. I think that I definitely prefer organization and structure, and definitely sometimes when I get flustered is like if my room is not organized. So I definitely do well with organization and definitely feel aligned with the get it done mentality.
And do you ever feel like you criticize yourself a lot?
Yes, definitely.
How do you overcome that criticization in your mind?
I think it comes back to what I was saying earlier that, um, it's okay to not be working all the time, and that sometimes I feel I get I mix myself up by thinking where I want to be
Mm-hmm.
should be happening sooner, or getting attached to a time frame, or getting attached to the how, rather than the why. So I'd say just giving myself some freedom to recognize that I'm not perfect and that that's okay, and that I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm just learning as I go.
Mm-hmm. Do you would you resonate with having like strong connections with your home base, like having a really stable home and like motherly aspect to that?
Yeah, and I think that's been a challenge since March. I actually moved back with my parents into my house I grew up in for the second half of my life, and I think that that's brought a whole host of challenges and also opportunities. Um, but yeah, it's definitely I like to have my own space, and I think it's been a challenge is now being under again not being in control of the household, and the way the household is run has definitely been a challenge. um, and I've had my first real deep relationship this past year and a half or so, for the first time since I was like 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I think also having, like you said, that feminine energy as part of my life has definitely been very good to balance balance me out of my very yang masculine attributes.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And I love that. So your sun, it's right next to your Mercury, which are both in Virgo, and it's in the fourth house. So how you're feeling this alignment with the family, with the mother, with that feminine energy, and having that need for that control and like really wanting to have a say and making it exactly how you're used to. I feel like you're handling it very well for what your situation is, but that is just kind of how that energy does show up for you. It's going to be more of this like healer mentality. So how you are, like how people see you, it's going to be that healer. It's going to be that person they go to for help or guidance or wanting some organization to their life or how to better plan out their day or how to get healthy, because it's that holistic side of you. I mean, the Virgo is the humble servant, and it wants to serve. It wants to get everyone on the same page. It wants to amplify the holistic side of clean products, from the bathroom all the way to what you're putting on your hair, to your body, to in your belly. So you're totally harnessing your sun and your mind because they're acting as one. So permission to be nice to yourself and tell yourself that you are doing more than you need to. Like you are doing exactly what you need, because we are always, like, the world is always working for us and with us. So just remember, like, be nice to yourself and give yourself that permission. It sounds like you already are with the like the earth water combo there with the house and the planet. That's awesome to hear that you're in your lane. And then for your moon, sweet water. So when you have a planet in water and it's your moon, the moon is happy. Right now it is in Pisces. And or for you it is in Pisces, not just right now, but always it's in Pisces. And so this is like, could you say that you have a hard time or easy time expressing your emotions?
Definitely hard time. I think part of that is growing up in a household that was very, I don't want to say robotic in its interactions with each other, but there was not much emotion being shown. That it was very, we're having a conversation. This is what I need. This is what I need. All right, boom. It was very like, there wasn't a lot of emotion expressed. Um, And then when the emotion was expressed, a lot was pent up, that would then turn into explosions. So I think that definitely growing up in that environment where there's not a lot of expression um, definitely was a challenge. And I think that is something that, again, I have a very analytical mind at times, and again, just get it done, that I feel I can also detach from my emotions a little bit easier than other people. So again, having this deeper relationship has also allowed me the opportunity to have more compassion and empathy for people that are a bit more emotional. A lot of that more feminine energy that I definitely need more of, is that sometimes I can be too unemotional. And so, yeah, definitely expressing emotion is not not the easiest task, but I'm definitely making strides in that area.
I love to hear that. And when you have these emotions and you suppress them, where do you think that it would be easiest for you to allow them to come up, or in what kind of state would it be easiest for you to allow that?
I think it comes back to being that introvert and giving myself the space to be alone and in solitude, preferably in nature. Because there's definitely times, the few times that my girlfriend and I have gotten into arguments, and I kind of just shut down into that internalizing and trying to figure it out. Whereas it's just like, why'd you stop talking? Why are you ignoring me? It's like, no, I'm just trying to figure this out in my own head before I say something that I regret. So I think it's just allowing myself to not, because I feel like sometimes I could see, if I walk out, it's like, oh, he's being dramatic, or he's, but it's like sometimes I just need that space. So I think just maybe being clear with my communication and say, hey, I'm just going to go for a walk real quick and then get back to you on that. So I think just giving myself space to feel into that, rather than being reactive in the moment.
That's awesome. I love that. Like, you're able to witness that you kind of shut down, and that it's like, okay, concrete, frozen water. Like,
Right.
this eruption happens and like, whoop, freeze. I need to think. I need to be, please don't touch me.
Right.
And that is really huge for you to see. That's amazing. And my biggest, you nailed it, like the communication, giving yourself that sacred union space so that you can de-thaw and you can witness, why is this coming up for me? How can I better express this? And where does this actually stem from? Like, what underlying fear or secret or private part of my life did this really come from? Because it's usually not because the dishes weren't done or the dog didn't get walked, like, the surface level deals. And with your moon in Pisces, this is really important for you to acknowledge that, like, you have this capacity for your feelings to go, like, kind of wishy-washy or back and forth, and like maybe you feel one way about a certain situation sometimes, and then you're the opposite another time. And then being able to communicate the difference in that moment to whoever else is involved is going to be key, because your emotions are important for your own self. Like, you need to be able to communicate, hey, I need this time, let me just go check out for 10 minutes, I'll come back, we'll be like, we can talk about it then. And then in just like very abrupt situations, being able to be like, hey, just like give me a minute, I need to witness how this reaction or like this moment is different from another moment with the same event going on. I hope that makes sense. And then being able to identify what's different exactly, because the Pisces is all about the dreamer. It's the illusions of the world. It is how we are poets and are mystics. And so it can be very like secretive and under the water. Like, it's two fish going in different directions. It can pull you both ways. So it sounds like you are aware of how you could better incorporate that. And then, have you ever experimented with like anything in like plant ceremonies or anything like that?
Yes, I've done my fair share of psilocybin, which a couple of my friends used to grow them. So I had a pretty good supply of that on a regular basis. Then cannabis, hape, um, nothing too crazy. That's about it.
Mm-hmm. And when you underwent those times, what was the result afterwards? Like, what typically happened?
Beauty is the first word that comes to my mind. Alignment, um, acceptance, presence, clarity, and growth, I'd say, are the ones that stand out to me, specifically thinking about mushroom journeys. And yeah, I mean, even the time that I took too much and kind of took a hero's dose, and one may say it was a bad trip, I didn't really view it as that. It was more just like kind of a learning experience of, pushed it a little too far, don't need to do that again. um, so overall, I've had very positive experience. I feel like I come out of them just feeling much more grounded and purposeful and intentional.
I love that. More purposeful and intent. When you were younger, did you have a tough time with your emotions? And did you ever have a tough time expressing them? And did it result in you getting the shit end of the stick, so to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely, I think back to when I was 7 years old, and we were moving to a new town, and that was really tough for me. I didn't handle it well. And I think that hearing my mom tell the stories of it all these years later was just kind of, they took me to like a therapist. Like I was kind of just like going crazy, and just like anger and resentment and just all these emotions of just like, how could you, that kind of victim mindset, like, how could you do this to me? I lost all my friends type of thing. And um, so I kind of forgot the original question you had there, but
That was perfect. Yeah. So it was tough. Like you had a tough growing up with the emotional world because of that like
yeah.
incident.
Yeah, so I think that was the start of it. Then again, living in a household that there was not much emotion expressed. I think that's, yeah, definitely a challenge with the emotional side of things.
And as you've grown up, like have you witnessed these hard emotional situations kind of develop into a more effortless or like a more easier way to go about it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. After my first real girlfriend, we broke up when I was like 20. As I mentioned earlier, I kind of took a year of, being in that heartbreak mode. And then after that, I kind of went into this just mass dating of just, hanging out with any girl that would hang out with me, and just, going into shallow relationships that were more on focus on sex and kind of, instant gratification. That and I think a lot of that was my reaction to not wanting to be hurt again, having been cheated on in the previous relationship, and then having that heartbreak. I think a lot of it was like, well, if I don't get too deep into the emotions, then I can't get hurt. And I think that was subconscious, but something that I think I deep down knew but wasn't open to admitting. And then it was when I went to Asia, and there's no hookup culture there, and that was the longest I had gone without having sex in like years. And it was like all these months, and it was kind of this wake up call. I was like, I don't need this. Like it almost became like an addiction to it. And not to say it was anything that crazy, but just, a low level attachment, I guess is a better word. And then it made me really realize, like, wow, like maybe I should rethink this, because at this point, like, meeting all these couples that were traveling the world together, I was like, wow, there may be something to this whole depth thing, rather than having a lot of shallow buoys floating on the surface. Might be better to have some anchors. So yeah, so the past couple of years I've been more open to it, and sure enough, as I became open, I met my current girlfriend, who has been just, everything that I could ask for.
Oh, that makes my heart so happy. I'm so stoked for you. That is just great. So your moon is in the house of Capricorn. And this is, I mean, it's the wise old man. It's where uh Saturn is ruler of Capricorn. And so it's like the karma, but it's having a really hard time in childhood. And whatever planets associated with it, that's where it's going to affect. And so seeing that you had this hardship with like moving and this, how could you do this with me or to me? I don't have any friends. Now what am I going to do? I'm in the dark and I have nowhere to go, blah, blah, blah. And so this energy just shows that like you had this hard start, and as you grow, it gets better. Like when you're young, you're old. When you're old, you get younger. And so it's that flip, but then it's also like when you're young, you're smart, but you only get wiser and wiser and wiser. And it can be really like a kick in the gut when you first started off. And so as you kind of journeyed through and you had that first heartbreak, and then you did the shallow diving, and then you realize like, oh, I don't need this. Like the Pisces can be like an addictive personality and get attached to things that are distractions because they don't want to be here. It's not of this world, it's otherworldly. And so seeing that you're able to like witness, oh, if I can ground myself here, if I can like find someone who matches my credentials, like I don't need to negotiate anything of mine to find the person that is right for me, and they don't need to negotiate anything for the right person for them. Like that sacred union comes together really, really well. So that's awesome to hear that you have found that finally. So congratulations on that.
Thank
And
you.
as we like move to your rising, this one is going to be kind of fun. We'll make it quick, but it's your rising sign. So it's your soul sign. It's kind of like the base of like, all right, how am I going to not just live in my ego? Because if you can imagine an umbrella, we have the rising sign. It's that little plastic tip on top of the umbrella. And it's what connects you to the higher world. It connects you to God. It connects you to that Christ energy, whatever you believe, the universe. And then the umbrella, that's the ego. That's the part everyone sees and notices. And it's like, oh my God, it's so fancy, beautiful, sparkly. And then the pole, that's your emotions. You keep that close to home. You don't want anyone to touch it. This is mine. Get away. I'll kick you in the face. And so you get to choose whether or not you like how well you keep the umbrella stable. And it now sounds like your umbrella is pretty stable. You got a good grasp on it. And now moving forward, like your ego, you're not like just drilling yourself or not confident or just like bashing yourself for not being able to like achieve things. Like you're going out, you have these plans, you have structures, you have routines, you're creating this holistic life for other people. So you're serving and you're doing your job. Like you stepped up to that. So your umbrella is intact. There's no holes in it from what I can see. And then we have your little bitty connection at the top with higher divine source. And that's going to be like the Cancer Gemini mix, because you're right on that cusp. You're at 0 degrees. So this can kind of swing both ways. And so how do you feel like you resonate more with, let's say, the communicator, the multitasker, the intellectual, like very speedy mind? Or would you resonate more with the healer, the subconscious mind, the ability to like create an environment that is homey and safe? Which one feels more accurate?
I'd say both, but more so the first.
Okay.
But I think there definitely is a bit of both in there. And yeah, I'd say it's maybe like a 60-40. Like
Okay.
definitely, a little bit dominant on the outside, but not terribly far off.
Mm-hmm. And can you give me an example of like what makes you feel the absolute best to do? Like when you have the perfect day, what does that look like to you?
Wow, that's a great question. Because all my days look so different, and that you want a day that is right now, or what I envision as a perfect
Your
day?
envisionment of like the
Okay.
ideal day and like how everything plays out and like your participation in it.
Okay. So my ideal day is that I'm waking up with the sunrise to my own homestead where I'm growing much of my own food. I have my family with me. I definitely want kids in the picture. Yeah, there's a lot of plants, a lot of animals, a lot of land, a lot of beautiful nature in my property. I have a great community nearby of people that I am engaging with, and we're growing together. And I also have time to work on my businesses in solitude and have that space, whether that's, the first time that popped in my head was 3 hours a day in solitude of working, just plugging in because I do enjoy the work I do. And I treasure that time. But I think right now it's a little out of balance as I'm in the growing phase and feeling the need to do more so that I can get to that place where I don't want to say cruise control, but, just kind of feel a little bit more stable. So I'd say, yeah, having my own land, connection with the land, growing my own food, being with a family, being with a community, and doing the work that I love.
That sounds heavenly, first of all.
It
And
does.
that's amazing. Those are like, that envisionment is, I mean, that's real. That's real life. And you're in the trajectory of achieving just that. And with your your description of like the home life on the farm and having the fam around in the community, that is such a beautiful combination of that Cancer and Gemini power. So you definitely have an ability to multitask and to be out there and to connect everyone and to get everyone on the same page, as long as you do the work to go deeper. So don't just do the surface level knowledge. I'm sure you're already aware of this, but that's when it gets flaky and people can start to see through the blinds. They're like, oh, I don't really know how accurate this is. So make sure that you don't just do the surface work, you go deep in on the knowledge that you present. You have a good basis and you're always continuing that education because your mind needs it. You need stimulation. And I love that you're already like, you have your structures and you have what works for you and what you really enjoy as you're allowing that change to happen. Because the Cancer, it's all about the atmosphere of cozy and comfort and what you love and how it's going to affect your day, and feeling at one with your family and those that you love around you, and being able to not stay in the past, recognize like, okay, this was great, this worked, or maybe this was a little rocky, this didn't work, but there is no failure. There's only pivoting, and there's only okay, that didn't work, sweet, try a different thing, experimentation. So being okay at the heart, knowing like, I'm doing my best, my feelings are valid, and whatever I feel I'm called to do, that's what I should do, and that's what I should commit to. And so making that strict choice of, this is my time, this is what I got, and this is how it's going to be. And then when you finish that 90-day just like push of getting that book written, or that 90-day push of getting that workout plan or whatever, that workshop done, like, you have it, that's your product, and now you get to watch it bloom and develop and be this beautiful connection of whatever you want to present to your family, which is in your community, which is all around you. So it sounds like you are definitely on your right path, and I would love to continue to hear what happens as we get closer to your Saturn return. And I'm going to look at the transits right now. So just for like making this a little bit more accurate, like, another piece of homework is like, family is work. Like, that is your work. Like, the family is work. And because you are on that 0-degree cusp, but the other one is like, you're like the fun, like, you're the traveling intellect. Like, you're here to inspire by going out to those places, gaining your knowledge, coming back, and then giving it back to the community. So make sure, if you're feeling called for those travels, for those, like, you went to Asia, you got to go experience the culture, and now you can bring it back and you can really dish it out, and you have this deeper connection with it because you were actually present in that moment. How does all of that kind of feel in your body and in your mind?
Feels really good. Yeah, it's definitely, again, just great reminders. And I think one thing here that definitely hit on was, you said, to create something in, that 90-day period, and then go on. Because I feel like I often have a lot of pieces in the fire that, I'm going 50% of this one, 60% of that one, but sometimes it would be better to just go, 100% on something, get it done, then move on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And it's good to have your hands in multiple places. Like, that's how you get the feel for what you really need to ground into, which you have an insane access to. Like, that is your powers, like rooting down and making those roots strong, because like the foundation is everything. And
Right.
so as you continue to build, having your strong foundation is only going to make your next steps easier and easier. And yeah, feel okay that it's a little chaotic. Like, give you the mind a little like, hey, honey, it's all right. Just chill. We got this. You write down in the morning, like, your goals of the day or your goals of the week. Check them off in however works for you. Like, don't get so caught up in the, all right, at 2 o'clock, I need this and 3 and then 5 and then 6. Like that can get a little congested sometimes. It's good sometimes, but if it feels overwhelming, roll it back a little bit and just go, this is what I need to get done for the week. How do I feel about doing that today? And then pick 2 to 5 of those things, and then boom, boom, boom. You get them done, you feel good, and then you don't feel so just drowned out by like the boredom and like the what's the right word for it? Like the
monotony.
Yeah, the monotony. Thank you. Like it's just mundane. So make it fun
Right.
for yourself. You deserve to have it to be fun. And Virgos need a reminder to have fun. So
Yes,
if
we
it's
do.
fun, like keep it fun. Keep it however you need to. Get up and dance. Do some movements. Get some stretches in between the work. Go out and like go sprint down your road and then come back and just be like, whew, okay, I feel better.
I love it.
But yeah, that would be how I would go about a first reading with everyone, with dictating your Saturn, so your life purpose, where you're going, and like the direction that is like you're heading, so staying in your karma, and then giving you the homework for that. That's the main thing. And then going through your sun, moon, and rising, and then how you're feeling in this moment. So like today, how are you feeling in yourself?
I feel good. I think that one thing you did say earlier about getting caught up on the emotions at times, I do find myself kind of going through the waves of, the abundance to feeling in scarcity, and kind of just that back and forth. There's definitely more waves of abundance now, but there's definitely also waves of scarcity that I'm looking to, not let get to me as much. So, today I feel good. Today, I think yesterday I was definitely feeling a little bit in that scarcity. Today I felt really good. And I think also is that seeing this on my calendar, like this is something that you said, like this is fun. Like this is something new to me. I had no idea what to expect. So that's fun. And so I think the fun part, definitely I really enjoy. And that's what I love about doing the Ice and Iron events, is that we just get to have fun with people in person, in the community, growing together, just kind of like I said about that ideal day. So, having fun is definitely an important piece. And yeah, I'm feeling good today.
I love that. I absolutely love it. Yeah, you're on your way, and it's so beautiful to see that. And it's so beautiful to have connected with a soul that is so like-minded and so much rooted in the same ideals and what we want to create for the rest of the world moving forward. So I just thank you for everything that you do. Like you are amazing. Look at what you've created so far. Like give yourself the big old hug for that. Like you have done so much. So permission to keep going with it and letting it happen. In the scarcities, I mean, any time you're an entrepreneur, intrapreneur, it's gonna be that ride of not having those expectations. So that's the big thing, is not expecting anything from the external, just you as that constant variable.
Awesome. Well, this has been absolutely beautiful. And thank you so much. I got a whole page of notes here. So I'm excited to dive back into these after this, and would love for you to share how people can get connected with you, book a call with you, have their own readings done. How do people find you and get this done for them?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for opening that door. I can be reached through IncredibelleConversations.com. That's my website. It's also the name of my podcast that I oftentimes do little astrology bits, but Rob will be on there soon, just talking about good holistic health and just everything doing with the career and the love of life and the awareness of how we deserve to be living the lives we want to live. We shouldn't be just pounding ourselves to death doing things that we don't like to do. And that's my main mission, is to help people live the lives they want. I can also be reached on Instagram through Isabelle Wellman, Isabelle Wellman. Kind of funny that my last name is Wellman. I wish it was Wellwoman sometimes, but it works for me. And then also my fitness page on Instagram is Conscious Alignment Method. And that is really the best way to get a hold of me. My email's on the website. That is where you can book an astrology reading. I do couples readings just to see where the energy shows up for each party, and then how to meet each other in the middle, because there's nothing more important than understanding how your partner reacts and then how you react, and then what could help you initiate conversation, where you need to be gentle, where you could be softer, where you could, poke a little bit more to get them to light their own fire if that's the thing they need. And I also work with businesses. So go into a small business of like anywhere from 2 employees to 15, and getting a better understanding of how people work together and intermingle, and how they want to lay their foundation and be on the same page, because we all know we can work with people that just kind of itch on us a little bit differently than the rest of them. So when we can understand and take responsibility for why we get that itch, we can observe it from a place of love, from a lens of love is what I like to say, then we can go, okay, like this doesn't actually affect me. I can move on in my day, and like this is how I could make the situation better for not just me, but for everyone. So always harnessing that mentality of when you do the inner work, the outer work is going to be a shining example of what your inside world looks like. So yeah, I think that's the best way to get in touch with me. So thank you guys for listening, and thank you for having me on this little call today. It's been so much fun.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn about my own astrology and just astrology in general. So everybody listening, I will put all those links in the description box here. So definitely, as you've seen, this has been incredibly valuable for me. So book a session with Isabelle, and subscribe to this page if you haven't already. She will be on here on my podcast as well very soon. So Isabelle, thank you for all that you do, and everybody listen. Have a beautiful day.